Okay, we're back here with part two in political geography. So, on in your textbook, there's a neat little thematic map here that shows you these faces smiling, really happy, not necessarily frowning on the lowest end, but it's a well-being score based on these iconic pictures of the smiley face. So, it's kind of neat to see how the polling organization had measured people in all the states, and so they kind of got them spaced out geographically, spatially. But if you'll look, they always put inset maps that have Alaska and Hawaii outside, since Alaska would be way up here and Hawaii would be way out there. But look at both of these. They're on the highest end of the scores, and you could guess why. Well, you'd say in Alaska, why would you? Gosh, it's cold, it's whatever, but it's wild. It's frontier place, and the people who choose to live there really like, um, the fjords and the mountains and the forests. Hawaiians, what's not to love about Hawaii? It's island, tropical, Polynesian surfing, and great drinks, right? Where are the problems? Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, Ohio, right? So I'm sorry, but the South and the Midwest usually show up pretty low on that list. And why? What is the physical health of the people? If you see the parameters that they used, what about your location? Do you feel great about living in the deep South or in the mountains or wherever you are? So often, what would you'd see here would be problems of health, problems of finances. Maybe you do have a problem with companionship and the daily ins and out of your life, but the ones that really stand out to me um, are certainly the ones like a Colorado and a Montana that really, because I kind of like the mountains, I kind of like the outdoors. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to do something different, but certainly Vermont and Maine stand out as well. I can't tell you what's going on with Rhode Island though, because they're on the lowest part of the list, but they're kind of up there in the range of where states like Massachusetts, they should be pretty happy, but I'm not sure why they're not. But this is a state to state kind of thing, and so the Sunshine State, Florida, California's not doing too bad. So ask yourself, because you live in Tennessee. Tennessee's in the next to bottom category, I think, this one right here. So ask yourself, what are the problems in your daily life, or what might you change if a move was involved? So your background and where you're going to be is part of that, mapping of the good life. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. I won't spend a lot of time on it. Your book goes through this, but four sectors of the economy: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. So if you see the primary sector, we're really talking about taking what the earth offers you, fish, food that you farm, uh, gemstones and coal or petroleum that you take out of the ground. And the point of this is to say is that it only requires, for the most part, manual labor, and anybody can do it. So typically, if you're involved in the primary sector, you don't make a lot of money. Now, there are exceptions in America and Europe and other places where they have industrial agriculture. Some of these people are making some good money, and they are quite well educated to understand how to fix machines, how to use satellites, yes, to farm, chemicals, all those kinds of things for herbicides, pesticides, and the like, having, understanding of the finances to go along with that. But by and large, if you're looking at a primary sector, you're talking about subsistence agriculture and mining and things like that. And so that's why you'd see most people in very poorly developed countries in those sectors. It was the British, as I had mentioned, who came along first with the Industrial Revolution, spreading to Europe and Western Europe and Eastern North America. But it was that secondary or manufacturing sector which put those countries that adopted it very quickly head and shoulders above everyone else. And so, pardon me. Uh, and so, because you're able to manufacture so many goods so quickly, higher quality, cheaper rates, value added, the scale of production, all of that means that those people that are doing it on old hand looms or kind of cottage industry stuff, they're not going to be able to keep up. So those economies get way out ahead and they're hard to catch up with. So many countries are still struggling with that, and they might be at best doing light manufacturing, so making clothes and non-durable goods. Whereas other countries, say like a Japan, um, Germany, places, automobiles and high-end steel engineering. Engineering's a service, sorry, but other manufactured goods, computers and chips and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to have it. Tertiary is what I do. It's a service that I provide. You've paid me for my knowledge and to teach it to you and hopefully change the way you think about the world. So that's anywhere from doctors, lawyers, teachers, dentists, whatever, but to clerks. And if they don't make something, they are only doing a task, administrators and those kinds of things, then they all fall in that white collar sector. The secondary or manufacturing sector is often called a blue collar sector, but the tertiary, the services is white collar. And then we also have the quaternary sector. So um, the research, the IT that you see going on, information services, biotech even goes in here. It is still part of the kind of the services sector, but it's a whole nother kind of gold collar, if you will, standard that is really high end, groundbreaking, futuristic, even kinds of stuff, nanotechnologies and stuff we can't even dream up that will become part of economic aspects for given countries at times. So to understand this is to understand how the entire global marketplace and supply chains and all that stuff works. So understanding that will put you head and shoulders up on knowing why the world looks as it looks. Okay, sorry about this. I got some of the slides out of order, so I'm getting back into order here. So look into the UN Sustainable Development Goals. These are laudable goals set forth by the United Nations to hopefully, quote unquote, transform the world. So take a look at the items that they have here. These have grown numerically over the years since they first started this idea of Millennium Development Goals, and now it's Sustainable Development Goals. But to eradicate poverty, eradicate hunger, these aren't likely to be achieved if we're being honest here. But understand that setting goals then allows you the agenda to maybe focus better on the problem and start to heal it better, like fixing aspects of the climate, like with the COP20 summit that they just had wrapped up not that long ago in Scotland, or dealing with ocean acidification and the health of the oceans, which is not very good, overfishing, again, acidification that's going on, damaging coral reefs, pollution aspects. So they're going to, by having it on the agenda and making it a goal to fix it, like you're doing in this assignment of building sustainable cities. This is a really important aspect that we're going to talk about in the next chapter too, about how do we go about getting to that point to where we can, have the kind of world we hope it will be. And so Bhutan got on the map not that long ago. And I read this book that's up here, The Geography of Bliss, back Rainer. But the idea of having a happiness quotient, of measuring happiness. And one of the reasons why they were so happy is, and I'm convinced of this, is they didn't have television. They had TVs because they had electricity and they had VCRs, video cassette recorders, and could watch movies, but they didn't have actual live television until only, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 years ago, something like that. And they focused, as you can see, on life, religion, each other, and daily activities. And I'm convinced now these time-saving things that we have, like computers and cars and phones and all this stuff, are really time-wasting devices, and we're distracted from one another. So this happiness aspect, I'm not any happier that my phone's in my hand and it's demanding my attention all the time. This is a personal preference, I'm telling you. You don't have to hold it, but we're all addicted to these things and to social media. And it's funny, we'll spend our time on social media, but we're not really being social. We're avoiding. I see it in my classrooms all the time. My students come in and they're looking at their phones and they never say hi to the neighbor sitting next to them in class. And so they're foregoing the relationships that they could have, and I guess maintaining some that really are tangential because they probably don't see many of those people on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, Meta, whatever it's called now. But so they do have TV now, and the world is encroaching upon them. But I do like the concept of the happiness quotient and measuring happiness. And so, what do you think makes people happy? Well, certainly money, development, leisure time, and all of that stuff. And why would you see very little of it in places like across Africa, say Angola or Central African Republic or Chad? Or Syria because there's war, or Afghanistan because there's war, in Madagascar because there's loads of poverty. So these places still haven't really developed up yet. But if we take into account these other aspects, maybe I'm terribly sorry about that. Maybe Saudi Arabia, maybe Thailand here, maybe Malaysia start to move up on the list because they do have a nicer balance between this. You know, the leisure life, but still drives to go forward and accomplish stuff. So certainly the Nordic countries are always up there on the list. Canada, New Zealand, Australia. Yeah, they're going to be up there. Here's Switzerland. Here's Austria. Here's the Netherlands. So yeah, they're always going to be up there high on that list because they're very well developed. But being socialist countries, they build in. I'm telling you the truth. Some of these countries, you don't even. It's against the law to work more than 40 hours. That I went to Norway and they had a mandatory 6 weeks vacation you had to take and had to take. And people here in America, we used to talk about 2 week vacation. Now, I don't know that anybody takes vacation anymore except for maybe a week. And some people don't have the opportunity because they're working 2 and 3 jobs and have so much going on. So maybe that's why we're a little further down the list. So if we were to look in here at who are the usual suspects, Finland, Denmark, Switzerland, Iceland, Norway, all, Nordic or in the case of Switzerland, Alpine countries here. Here's Sweden, New Zealand, and Austria, another Alpine country. All of these are in Europe. Then you get a Canada and Australia, but we're back to the UK here. Israel and Costa Rica stand out because they're not from Europe, and then there's the United States. But all of these developed countries tend to be happier if you have money and you're developed. Okay. All right, I'm going to drop back to these last two slides I jumped over because I had them out of order, but I apologize. God, I'm sorry. I've got a frog in my throat. A cartogram is one that represents, it's a cartography, meaning it's a map, but it's also a diagram. So they have these squares in here and the colors of how much they equal. 10, each square equals $10 million in U.S. economic development and aid and assistance here, and top 10 receiving countries. So ask yourself why Nigeria, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Mozambique, Zambia, Jordan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan are all of those receivers of economic aid. Some of it could be that we are cultivating, we want access to materials or trying to help them in some way. Some of it could be that we're just involved in war and trying to rebuild a country, which we, of course, the United States just lost. The Taliban has taken over Afghanistan again, so all those billions, nay, trillions of dollars are gone. But again, us being a rich country trying to help our fellow man. If we look to this one, though, security assistance, this has changed a little bit over time. But why would we be, for instance, spending so much in Mexico and Colombia? Illicit drugs, you guys, cocaine, heroin, marijuana, all of these things coming from there. This one really stands out. Israel has a good lobby. APAC and the Judeo-Christian heritage and Americans that really want to support Israel. So why do they get so much? Because we want them to be safe. We've had a long-standing tradition. Heck, many of the people to settle Israel came from America when Israel was formed as a country in 1947 or 8. I can't remember which year. And also why so much Egypt? Well, we paid these two countries with the Camp David peace accords that President Jimmy Carter brought Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat, the leaders of the two countries, together and said, hey, y'all need to make peace. Y'all have had enough war. And to make a peace, we would give them money to the tune of billions of dollars every year, and we still do that. We broke Iraq. There you see Iraq. So we're giving them security because we didn't want Islamic State to take over. Afghanistan because of the Taliban. So some of this really has a lot to do with what our historical agreements had been and what we think is in our best interest for overall security for the United States. Okay, tell you what, I'll be back here with you again for part three in just a moment. See you soon. Bye.